I'm Jacob.
And hi, I'm Wylie. And today we're going to be discussing the 4 macromolecules that are essential for all life on Earth. 1. Carbohydrates. 2. Lipids. 3. Proteins. And 4. Nucleic acids. Nucleic acids we're going to be going into detail about, and we're going to talk about how it's being used in science today and the real-life applications of it. And Jacob's going to start us off with carbohydrates.
Alright, carbohydrates, they range from small sugar molecules to large polysaccharides. 3 main ones that most people should know about are glucose, fructose, and galactose. They mainly function as energy storage and structural compounds. They're hydrophilic. Starch is another carbohydrate, a polysaccharide composed of glucose monomers and used by plants for energy storage. Glycogen is pretty much the same thing, only it's used by animals for energy storage. Cellulose is a polymer of glucose, and it forms cell walls in plants. Cytogen is a polysaccharide used by insects and crustaceans, and that helps build their exoskeleton. And now, Wylie with lipids.
Lipids. Lipids are pretty cool because there's a few cool things about them. Their main function is for long-term energy storage in the body. So if the body needs to store something to use later, they put it in the lipids and it can store it. And it can contain up to 9 calories per gram because what it's storing almost always is calories. And one of the cool things about lipids is that they're water insoluble, and water dissolves. Water is the most soluble thing on Earth, so it can dissolve the most things. And lipids cannot be dissolved in water. And lipids are held together by carbon and hydrogen atoms, and they're linked by non-polar covalent bonds that hold them together pretty tight. And lipids don't technically fit the description of a macromolecule just because they're not big and like the other 3 items on our list. But they are in the list just because for convenience. They're essential for life, so they just keep it in the list because they don't want to take it out just for that reason. And there's 3 types of lipids: the phospholipids, fat, and steroids. So, the steroids, there's 2 types, catabolic and anabolic. So when you see a bodybuilder or something like that, or one of those crazy pictures of someone that's really jacked, they've probably been using steroids. And those are anabolic, that's the type. And catabolic steroids don't help with muscle growth or anything like that. And, Jacob is going to talk about proteins next. So, Jacob.
Proteins, they're a pretty neat little thing, if I do say so myself. They're involved in nearly every dynamic function in your body, whether that be just walking or lifting weights. They're very diverse. There's tens of thousands of different proteins just in our body. They're important. They're structural, contractual, signal, receptor, and transport and storage. They do what they sound like. Structural are what gives our structure with our body. Contractual, those are within the muscles and contract and such. Signals and receptors receive those signals and transmit them. Now on to Wylie with nucleic acids.
Nucleic acids, pretty much the most important thing in the body, that's why we're doing them. Nucleic acids are the things that consist of DNA, which make us what we are and who we are, our traits and everything like that. And the little things that make up the DNA are called nucleotides, which are just individual molecules that just make it all up. And DNA, I'm sure you've heard of it. It's the stuff that everybody knows about. And it's kind of shaped like this. This is the shape of DNA, the iconic double helix. It's not drawn very well, but that's the shape. And a DNA, it's composed of nucleotides, like I said. And one cool thing about DNA is that it plays a huge role in protein production, but it doesn't build it directly, like on site. It gives orders and transmits signals to other things that are capable of building it on site, the protein. So they send signals to that to build protein, and they will produce as much protein as the DNA tells them to. So that's a cool thing about it. And now Jacob's going to break down RNA and tell you about that.
RNA is pretty much just the same as DNA, except for it's cut right down the middle. And we change one part of DNA, which is usually adenine, thymine, cytosine and guanine, and we change the thymine to uracil, and it's what makes up our body. It's used during cell division, and that's pretty much DNA and RNA.
You want me to give him a close-up of that, Mr. Calvin?
Here you go.
So that's RNA after it's been, well, cut in half, I guess. So next we're going to talk about the real-life applications of nucleic acids, which are pretty neat. Nucleic acids are obviously essential for our survival and make us what we are because they make up DNA and RNA. Now, what scientists are using nucleic acid research and stuff for is genetic engineering. And genetic engineering is basically changing traits of what they should normally be. So, for example, genetics traits are passed on by the parents to the offspring. So, if the two parents there was a white and a black rat, say, the dominant trait would be the black and the recessive would be the white. And the child rat, the offspring, they could genetically engineer it so that even though the black is the dominant, it would become a white rat through a recessive trait. They can manually do that. And it's just kind of cool stuff like that they can change. And genetics, people have actually been doing those for a while. They've just now got to where they can actually change them and things like that. But people like Gregor Mendel with the peas and stuff, he knew about genetics and he kind of predicted stuff like that. He just didn't have the technology to do it. So it's definitely something that scientists are still studying and learning about, and it's pretty cool that nucleic acids are capable of doing that. And that's everything.
Yeah.
So, see ya.